Good afternoon, guys. How are you? How are you doing? Today we will continue discussing the lab challenges. Today's task is about the predefined functions. So the task say Omar plays a game with his brother Ali. Omar reads four numbers and chooses a value x. Ali must find the positive difference between the value x and each number. Finally, he must find the minimum and the maximum value from the result values. Use minimum and maximum predefined functions in this case. To find the positive difference, use absolute function. Can you help Ali to find the result? As we see here in this task, user must input 3 or 4 values, 4 integer values, and value x. And your role is to write a code to find the difference between each of these 4 numbers and the value x. And in this case, we need the absolute difference or the positive difference among all these values. So the numbers n1, n2, n3, and 4 must be greater than 0 or equal to 0, and x has the same case. The output for this code or this task is suggested to be 3 separated lines. The first line print the differences between the value x and each of these 4 numbers, and the second line must print the maximum difference, and the third line print the minimum difference. So if the user input 1, 5, 3, 4 for instance, and 2, then your role is to find the difference between 2 and 1, which is 1, 5 and 2, which is 3, 3 and 2, 3 minus 2, which is 1, 4 minus 2, which is 2, and then the maximum among these 4 numbers or differences is 3, and the minimum value is 1. Okay, nice. Let's discuss this case again. The same thing as the previous test case. 1, 2, 3, 4 are the 4 numbers. 4 is x, the value of x. Then the difference in this case is 3, 2, 1, 0. So the minimum value is 0 and the maximum value is 3. Let's discuss the code. As we see here, we have to define 3 integer values based on the requirement of this task, and an integer value x that represents the value which we need to find the difference between it and the 4 numbers. Then we let the user enter 4 numbers, Cn, n1, n2, n3, and 4, and enter again the x value. We have to put this x value on a new line because we need to enter the 4 values at first, and in the second line user must enter the value for x, and this is why we separate these variables into 2 lines of code, 2 Cn line of codes. Now the new value of n1 equal the absolute difference between n1 minus x. ABC is the function called absolute function, which finds the positive value of this expression or value. So if we have here absolute of scilab minus 2, then the answer for absolute minus 2 equals 2. Absolute for 2 equals 2. And don't forget to include the math library in your code. #include cmath, as you see in line 2. We include the math library in order to be able to use the power and the absolute and the maximum and minimum function. So we repeat this line of code 4 times to find the absolute value of n2 and x, n3 and x, and 4 and x. Then we will print out difference equal n1. The new value of n1 now will have the difference or الفرق ما بين n1 و x ولكن فرق الموجب. Okay. Now the maximum value among them will be as follows. If we start from here, we notice that we'll find maximum of between n3 and n4. Then the maximum of these 2 numbers will be a 1 number. Then we will compare this number with n2. So, and the value of this, the shadowed here or the highlighted expression will return an integer value. We will compare it with n1 to find the maximum among 4 numbers, and this is because maximum function requires only 2 values. The same thing for minimum function. So the compiler will evaluate first this function, the inner one, then the outer, and finally the third max function. Return 0, and we can now run our code. It works 100%, and we will get the result. As you see here, the differences are the same as we discussed previously in the two test cases. Thank you for watching. Good luck.